The Faroe Islands are like another world. Located halfway between Iceland and Norway, they offer some of the best hiking you'll find anywhere on the planet. Here are 7 of the most epic hikes in the Faroe Islands. Number 1. Trøllkonufingur. Trøllkonufingur means witch's finger, and it's barely a hike because you can drive most of the way there. Located on the island of Vágar, this jagged monolith rises dramatically from the Atlantic Ocean with stunning views of the islands of Streymoy and Kallur. It's just a 20-minute drive from the airport through the town of Sandavagar, and the route is well marked with signs. Just drive to the end of the road until it stops at some turnouts where you can park. From there, it's a short walk to a viewing area with benches where you can sit and enjoy the view. It's likely to be quite windy, so dress accordingly. Budget 20 to 30 minutes, not including the drive. Number 2. Fossá. At 140 meters, Fossá is the tallest waterfall in the Faroe Islands. It's located on the island of Streymoy, although the best way to see the whole thing at once is from across the fjord on the island of Usteroy. You can drive right to the lower falls and park just after the bridge. To reach the upper falls, follow the power lines above you to the right. The trail isn't marked, but there are a number of sheep trails you can use, and when I was there, one of them had obviously been more heavily used by people, and it was pretty easy to see. Follow the power lines for about a quarter of a mile until you reach a gap in the cliff above you to the left. Hike up that gap until you reach the next tier of land, then make your way back to the waterfall. There you'll have stunning views of the upper falls and of the fjord. You can walk right up to the waterfall, but be careful as the rocks are extremely slippery, even for experienced hikers. Budget at least 60 to 90 minutes. Parts of the hike are very steep, and you don't want to rush it. Number 3. Saksun Lagoon. I have mixed feelings about visiting the tiny village of Saksun. With a population of only 8 people, it's a quintessential example of the beauty and simplicity of Faroese life, but it's also increasingly disrupted by tourism, which is sad to see. That being said, the hike to the lagoon is ready for tourists and is an absolute must. As you drive to Saksun, you'll pass a small lake on the right side. At the end of the lake, turn left to stay on the south side of the canyon. Park in the public lot, then walk to the end of the road until it becomes a dirt path. You'll come to a gate with a turnstile, and you have to use a credit card to pay 75 Danish krona per person, which is about $10 to $12 US at the time of this video. Once through the gate, it's an easy, flat walk along the lagoon and out to the black sand beach. The lagoon fills up at high tide, so you'll need to schedule your hike during low tide. You only need about 45 minutes, but I would budget a couple of hours if you can to let yourself truly savor the unique beauty of Saksun. Number 4. Hvíthamar. This is one of my favorite vistas in all the Faroe Islands. Hvíthamar is a steep mountain above Funningur village on the island of Usteroy. It's a great stop along the way to or from the colorful village of Djegv. Going north toward Djegv, you'll come to a sharp S-turn in the road. And just past that, there's a parking lot with a wooden set of stairs marking the start of the trail. The hike is short, but it's straight uphill and it's steep. Follow the wooden trail markings up the right side of the fence until you reach the top, and you will be rewarded with a breathtaking view of the fjord, the village of Funningur, and Usteroy and Kalsoy Islands. Bring a picnic, and if the weather is nice, you can sit at the top and enjoy the view as long as you want. Budget 30 to 40 minutes for the hike, plus as much time as you want to spend at the top. Number 5. Trælanípan. This iconic destination is worth taking an entire morning or afternoon to enjoy. Trælanípan, or the Slave Cliff, is a very popular hike because of the optical illusion at the end where it looks like this lake is floating above the ocean on a cantilevered cliff. It's a stunning view you have to see for yourself to believe. The trail starts just outside the town of Midvagar, about 5 to 10 minutes from the airport. You have to pay for this hike, and there's a small hut where you can purchase a guided or unguided hike, as well as some food and hot drinks. From there, the trail leads around Lake Survagsvatn. The trail is wide and easy to follow, with very little elevation change along the lake. It takes about 45 minutes one way, and when you reach the end of the lake, that's when things get steeper. The trail takes you up to the top of the cliff, where you can look back and see the floating lake. If you want a photo that includes the ocean below, you'll need a very wide lens, and you'll need to walk pretty much right to the edge of the cliff, so definitely be careful. After that, you can hike down to another trail that runs closer to the lake, and follow that out to the Bosdalafossar waterfall. You'll easily spend an hour or more at Trælanípan, so when you include the hiking time, you're looking at 3 to 5 hours minimum, so just give yourself an entire half day so you don't feel rushed. Number 6, the Kallur Lighthouse. This hike will live in my soul till the day I die. The view of the Kallur Lighthouse really makes you feel like you are at the end of the world. Getting there takes more planning than the other hikes, but it's more than worth the effort. The lighthouse is on the island of Kalsoy, which you can only reach by ferry. First, you'll drive to the city of Klaksvík on the island of Borðoy. You can catch the ferry on the east side of the port and either take your car or just use the shuttle on Kalsoy once you get there. The ferry that takes cars wasn't operating the day I went, so I had to use the shuttle, and I ended up really liking that because then I didn't have to drive through the dark, one-lane tunnels on Kalsoy on my own. I just had to make sure I knew the shuttle schedule so I could finish my hike in time. I put a link in the description below to the schedules for both the ferry and the shuttle. Either way, once you reach the town of Trøllkonufingur at the north end of the island, walk down the main road until you see a little red gate. Go through that and make your way up and to the right. There is a main trail, but there are also like 1,000 sheep trails that pretty much lead to the same place. You'll hike around the spurs of the northernmost peak on the island, and then it's a fairly steep and somewhat slippery uphill to the lighthouse itself. Before the lighthouse, if you go to the left, you can see the James Bond tombstone that was placed there in honor of the fact that the ending of the last Bond movie was filmed at that location. The lighthouse is a pretty cool structure on its own, but what you're really looking for is the viewpoint about 200 feet beyond it. If you're feeling brave, you can hike the sharp crest out to a little knoll with just enough room to set up a tripod and get some staggeringly beautiful photos of the lighthouse and the enormous cliff face behind it. You also get a spectacular view of 3 points on the islands of Eysturoy and Streymoy, including the Risen and Kellingen sea stacks that featured in the recent Peter Pan and Wendy movie. Give yourself 60 to 90 minutes of hiking time, plus a good 30 minutes to an hour to fully appreciate the view and take photos. Watch your time though, and make sure you catch the shuttle and the ferry back. Number 7, Drangarnir. The Drangarnir sea stacks are what first captured my imagination and drew me to the Faroe Islands. Something about them just speaks to the beauty and resilience of both the land and the people. The hike is on private land, and a guided tour is required. Tours leave twice a week, and you can reserve your spot ahead of time at hiking.fo. The cost is 600 Danish krona per person, which is currently about $85 US. The hike starts at 11 a.m. at the FO petrol station in Survagar. Your tour guide will meet you there and round everybody up and lead the way. It's about 5 to 6 hours total, and that includes plenty of stops for photos along the way and at the sea stacks themselves. Parts of the hike are pretty steep, but your guide will be sure not to leave you behind if you need more time. Once you reach Drangarnir, you can hike around looking for good photos or just enjoying the landscape. Don't forget to turn around for some stunning views of the cliff behind you. That's actually how I got this photograph that ended up on the cover of Rotary magazine. After a while, your guide will lead you back. When I was there, an extra tour boat happened to come along, and our guide knew the driver, so the driver offered to load us all into his boat from the rocks and take us back to the port that way. It was a bit tricky getting in, but it gave us a nice tour around the tip of the peninsula and some of the other sea stacks. I couldn't tell if this is a regular occurrence or if we just got lucky that day, so don't count on it, but watch for the opportunity if it comes up. Those are 7 epic hikes in the Faroe Islands. Thanks for watching.